This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, and you can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. You can also find the other podcasts from ObsessiveViewer.com at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. We have Anthology, which is my solo side project podcast, where I talk about The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer. That is at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts, as well as at AnthologyPod.com. And you can find our spin-off podcast, Tower Junkies, a Dark Tower and Stephen King podcast, at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts and at TowerJunkiesPod.com. And thank you to this week's sponsor, Horror Movie Yearbook, for sponsoring this week's episode once again. You can find them on Twitter at HM Yearbook and on the internets at horrormovieyearbook.com. They are a podcast from the Midwest Podcast Network that takes usually three horror movies from the same year and contextualizes them and reviews them within the context of the year that they came out in and pop culture and current events of that year. You can find that again at HM Yearbook on Twitter and horrormovieyearbook.com. And yes, so this week is kind of an interesting episode. Tiny, how's it going?
It's magnificent.
Good, that's great. That's fantastic.
Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, we're not going to be talking about that.
One of Matt's favorite movies of 2016?
Not so much.
Or was it 17? I don't even know.
I think it was 2016. And to be fair, I didn't hate it, but I think the only reason why I actually enjoyed it is because I just love that story so much.
Yeah, completely unnecessary remake.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyway, this week's episode, we are talking about would you say it's one of the defining true crime stories of our time?
Oh, definitive. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I love that so much. Jesus Christ. I really wish I would have sent you a text today and just said, hey, with two Y's.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about the Netflix original series, American Vandal, which is on Netflix now. It is a satire of modern true crime series, such as Making a Murderer and Serial and The Jinx a little bit.
The Keepers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. I totally forgot. We were supposed to review that, and I just never watched it.
Oh, yeah. I thought we did review it.
Nope.
Man.
Yeah. I kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You did.
Yeah. I've been super busy lately. Anyway, American Vandal is a true crime satire that explores the aftermath of a costly high school prank that left 27 faculty cars vandalized with phallic images. So, Tiny, I lobbied pretty heavily for us to review this short 8-episode series on Netflix, and my kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? My kind of, my take on it, or my proposal for it, was that we should watch it because I am very interested in the trailer, and I was not sure if it would be able to sustain itself for 8 episodes. Watching the trailer, how did you feel about it, and how did you feel about my incessant nagging to review it?
I felt a very similar notion, because I thought, I was curious about it on multiple levels, because again, I agree, I don't know if you could really sustain over 8 episodes. I don't know, like, this sounds like a good idea, but would it actually work in practice? One of those deals. So I was curious, and plus I thought it looked funny. I thought it looked funny. I think it's a funny idea. So yeah, I was in all the way. I wanted to watch it too, when I saw the previews. So, yeah, then the trailer made it look pretty good. Like the trailer was like serious, and that's what made it so funny. Like, so I was like, okay, if they can do some of that in the series, then I think they might be successful. So, yeah, I was totally involved, or totally on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was super excited for it just because that trailer just looked so ridiculous and funny, and I was very curious by it. I found out kind of later in the run of it when I was about halfway through that apparently, I don't know if the creators of it are included in this, but a lot of the actors are like Vine superstars and like web series famous essentially.
Right.
Which I always like. I'm gonna say, I don't know how this is gonna come across, but I am going to sound like an old man because I just don't get it. It's not that I don't get like internet sensations or anything like that. It's such a weird concept to me to see like YouTubers and like people from Vine like be so massively famous, like more famous than traditional Hollywood superstars. It's just
people that we respect.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like we see him on TV, like, man, it's a great actor. I hope he does really well. And then like some dude who whips his dick out on Vine,
right? Yeah,
is more famous than that person. Yeah,
yeah. And it's kind of a sign of the times, and it's kind of where media is going these days. And there's a longer discussion to be had about it. But I just I don't know. It just feels so weird that after knowing about not knowing intimately the ins and outs of the Hollywood industry or anything, but just seeing it being subverted in such a way by people that are going a different route. Like I can respect that for sure. It's just, I have this weird old man bias because I'm 31. Shit, I'm 31 years old.
You are.
I have to keep reminding myself of that. I'm 31 and that wave of media, consummation. That wave of that particular brand of media just I completely passed by me. I passed by it in my travels around the world.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So apparently, like the main guy, the guy that plays Dylan is from Vine, and a bunch of other of the kids are like people from Vine and YouTube and stuff.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I didn't either. But good on them.
Yeah, it's not that I disagree with you. It's just that I'm actually a pretty big proponent of YouTube and stuff like that. Like I probably watch like 5 to 10 hours of YouTube a week.
Yeah.
So I mean,
do you follow like specific channels that have?
I do, but none of them are like entertainment stuff like this. Like I didn't know who any of these people were.
Okay.
So like, and like I only watched Vine sparingly. Like that Logan Paul guy is pretty funny.
Sure.
Yeah.
Vine's dead now anyway. So.
Right. It is.
I don't know. My perspective of it is just, it's the idea of Vine is like, oh, let's make the national memory span even shorter.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of what just bugs me a little bit.
I don't know. I appreciated the creativity of it. You have to cram something into 7 seconds or whatever it was, something like that.
Sure. Sure.
So I kind of appreciated that. But,
yeah.
And if the person's genuinely talented, then let's go for it.
Right.
Like some of these, I don't know which one of these kids are actually Vine kids in the show, but,
yeah.
But I thought everybody did a pretty good job in it. So
me too.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So to kind of circle back, like, what did you actually think of the series when you watched it? Like, did you feel like it held up throughout the 8 episodes? Did you feel bored at all? Like, how did you feel overall about American Vandal? And then we can go into spoilers at a later time in the recording.
Sure. Yeah. The broad strokes, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's funny because I found myself forgetting that it was a comedy and I just kind of got into the whole mystery. I was like, who did draw the dicks? And I'm actually getting into it, but then they would like bring it back and like they'd show a clip from the YouTube channel or something and it would be like nuns humping trees or something. And I was like, God, that's so stupid. And I kind of laughed to myself. So it was, I thought they did a pretty good job balancing that because I was like genuinely curious who drew the dicks.
Right.
I genuinely wanted to know. They actually captured that mystery relatively well for a stupid, funny miniseries. So, but yeah, I kind of bounced back and forth between those two sentiments throughout it. And I found myself enjoying that. I think making it a half hour was a great choice. If it was 45 minutes, like Making a Murder, it was 45 minutes, wasn't it? Yeah. Or an hour, 45 minutes to an hour long episodes. And that worked for that series. I'm not saying you can't do that, but for this, keeping it half hour, short and sweet, I think really worked because you could definitely overplay your hand.
Oh yeah.
With something like this. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I don't know if they could, turn it into a full on series or like keep it going for multiple seasons or any of that. Like it needs to, they need to understand their limits. I'll put it that way.
Right. I feel like and we may be jumping ahead a little bit, but I feel like any attempt at a season 2 would have to, I don't know. I just feel like the novelty will be gone, so they would need to do something more unique.
Right. How about you?
Yeah, so my overall thoughts was that this was a very compulsively watchable miniseries, and it was really entertaining, and I had a blast watching it. I really enjoyed it. There were parts of it that just went a little bit too stupid, but for every one of those, it was like the actual comedy beats, the other comedy beats really landed really well for me. And it was not only a satire of like true crime stories and everything, but it felt like an authentic satire. I don't know if that's an oxymoron, but an authentic satire of high school, like modern day high school life and popularity and gossip and stuff like that. And it was really interesting because it felt like it came from a place of knowledge. Like, yeah, this is how high school is. It's not like an indictment of high school life or teenagers or millennials or anything like that, but they got the bits and pieces of being a teenager. I assume, again, I'm 31. They got that down really well, and the whole idea of gossiping and people hooking up with other people. And it was a really entertaining way. And like the money they threw at it, I don't know the production or anything, but like they treated it probably the show's best thing about it. The best thing about American Vandal is that it was played so straight throughout the entire run.
Yeah.
And even to the point that they had like the computer generated like diagrams and blueprints of like scenarios and like seeing like a computer generated rendering of a kid getting jerked off at camp. Yeah. Is like freaking hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And it's just the way that they analyzed everything. They took it so seriously, and it was just so entertaining. And a lot of the characters, I really got a bit of an affinity for. Like there were a few characters that we'll talk about in spoilers because I don't want to spoil anything, but they would plant certain things earlier in the show, and then they would pay off a little bit later, and it wouldn't necessarily be like an in your face, like, oh, now this character is doing this. It was a more kind of, not necessarily, I don't want to say subtle, but it was an understated kind of reveal of certain things and how certain characters, how certain things affect certain characters within the narrative of it. It was a really entertaining miniseries, and I found myself laughing at the sheer stupidity of it and how honest it was being portrayed. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's see. Is there anything else to talk about in broad strokes?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the performances. Like, how did you feel about the performances? Because I've never seen really anyone in anything else. Although the guy who played Dylan's stepdad, I immediately recognized him from an episode of Friends from like 90. That was probably 98, 99.
Wow.
He played a fan of Phoebe's. Oh, actually, I think it was. No, it wasn't that episode. He played a fan of Phoebe's sister when the gang found out that Phoebe's sister does porn.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I recognized him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought the performances were great. I mean, and it's cool how like this, you got like a look behind the camera kind of thing. Like, I think as the series progressed, they kind of, the filmmakers, quote unquote, turned the camera around on themselves. And so like, you get to see those kids and stuff. And that was all funny. Like, I thought everybody did a pretty good job. I can't point to any performances where I was like, you could really tell that like this kid just, made his, earned his stripes on Vine.
Right.
Like, I don't think any of that like stuck out to me. But yeah, I thought it was pretty funny, and I think it's challenging challenging performances to like have a camera right in your face, like interview style.
Oh yeah.
And trying to like create a character that way. Cause I mean, there's just, you don't get help from anywhere. You have to like turn into a character and really dig deep for that. So I really respected the performances from that aspect. Yeah. And even I feel like a lot of the adults, like the teachers and stuff and parents and whatnot would have like the adult actors would have like kind of scoffed at something like this, been like, this is pretty fucking stupid. Or like, you know, like this kid like films himself on his phone and now he's in this fucking production. Like what are you talking about here? And it's like, I feel like a lot of the parents or like the adults could have been like phoning it in or like very unenthusiastic about it.
Maybe not get it.
Right.
Yeah.
But they were some of the best parts, especially the teacher who was like a dumbass and it was like,
Mr.
Kraz, yeah.
He may have been my favorite character.
Yeah.
It was just, so great.
Such an idiot. So yeah, like I thought it was, I can't point to anything. I can't point to anything that was not good or I can't point to anything that was like especially great either. Like I don't really, I feel like there was like kind of a breakup scene that I thought was actually like pretty well done. And like, I was kind of surprised at the, what's the word I want to say? The
emotion
and how genuine it was, I guess. Yeah. So there were a few good parts. There were a few parts like that I was kind of like, oh, this is pretty legit. But, yeah, it was good. I can't emphasize or point to anything that really jumped out on either side of the spectrum, but yeah, everything was pretty good.
Nice. And I'm kind of the same way. I would say like Kraz, like I said, that character was just a delight. Like he was really, funny.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really enjoyed about the entire series was the way that they depicted the interactions between the kids and the adults. Like, there's a scene where the documentarian Peter Maldonado, played by Tyler Alvarez, is I think it's like the first scene where he interviews one of the teachers about the incident, and then it's like very like he's trying to do this whole reporter kind of thing, but it's very clear, like she's a teacher and he's a student. So she immediately, like kind of in a subtle way, puts her foot down and like asserts her dominance as an authority figure.
Yeah.
And then like he just, like the way that the characters, that the child characters, or the teenagers, the way that they would recoil and kind of backtrack a little bit within themselves. I think that was a nice like layer to put to their performances. Cause like he would come at her with what would be the start of like a hard-hitting interview thing, and then she would be like, "Excuse me," and then he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the phallic shapes on the cars." Yeah, it's just very, very, very funny to see like the teachers kind of disarming the teenager characters.
True. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Throughout the series. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the story takes some twists and turns.
Yes.
There may or may not be an appearance by Kiefer Sutherland. There wasn't. But that whole part, God damn it.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah. The whole story centers around the character of Dylan Maxwell, played by Jimmy Tatro, who I think he comes from Vine.
Okay.
He is accused of being the perpetrator of the vandalism. He's accused of drawing the dicks, and he is thus, as a result, he's expelled. So the whole documentary is about, or the mockumentary is about trying to prove his innocence and get to the truth. But there's a lot to it. Like he has his whole little group of friends, the Wayback Boys, that are so like super like stoner burnout characters that are really stupid. And then like when one of the like biggest pieces of the entire like case is that like the alibi of the main character of the accused character is that he is that he was prank calling an older like conspiracy theorist nutjob guy. Like it's such a blast to watch this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's some kind of side characters, like there's some interesting stuff with Sam Eklund and Peter Maldonado as the kind of co-producers of the documentary, as well as their transportation person, Gabby.
Yeah.
I really liked their dynamic and how it went to that. How it went through that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I can't really say that much more without going into spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's just go ahead and do that. If you haven't watched American Vandal yet, go and watch it because it's fun. It's an 8-episode series you'll burn through it really quickly. And it's on Netflix. And if you don't want to be spoiled, go and check it out, and then come back and listen to us. If you don't mind spoiling, then just keep listening. I'll play a clip from the trailer to get us to the spoiler section.
It's a shocking scene for Hanover High teachers today. The Vandals spray painted obscene images on 27 cars.
Oh my God.
I'll never understand what's so amusing about penises.
Everyone thinks I did it. Everyone.
Dylan definitely did it.
Of course he did it.
He's like a known dick drawer.
Another day, another dick.
The evidence, it's overwhelming. I spoke to expel Dylan Maxwell for vandalizing the vehicles.
My name is Peter Maldonado, and I believe there are legitimate arguments for Dylan's innocence. Ball hairs.
The ball hairs.
They're different. It's just one piece to the puzzle. This is gonna take way more than just ball hairs.
They say he deleted the security footage.
There's no way.
He is the stupidest kid I've ever met.
He was trying to convince you some sort of conspiracy. There just isn't one.
Oh my God.
So, Tiny, spoilers on for American Vandal. What did you think about this landmark case? Like in the extended potpourri that we're going to probably be playing at the end of this episode, you talked a lot about the legal precedent of the Unabomber case.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you feel about the legal precedent of drawing dicks on cars?
It's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, I thought it was genuinely pretty interesting. Like there's this whole, like, this footage was deleted and it's like, who has alibis and, there's like a whole, cornucopia of information that like they dive into all this detail and like, it's pretty funny. I mean, it's just, it's funny how much detail went into such a dumb story or something that's so dumb. Like that's part of the comedy of it. Is the part where they figured out how long it would take to draw each dick on the car.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think of that? That was just so funny. Although it was a little bit reminiscent of a scene from Silicon Valley.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Also involving dicks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that stuff. And then like the whole like, high school thing of like who's sleeping with who. Did Alex Trimboli really get a hand job from the hot girl?
Sarah Pearson.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
that was like my favorite thing. Like, the whole conceit of the documentary or of the show is that it's satirizing the documentary, true crime documentary. So, I mean, obviously all of it's fictional, but like the lengths that they went to make it seem like a genuine like case and a genuine story, like they didn't have to go through that much detail. Like, and it's funny because that's something that like, did Alex Stromboli really get a hand job from the hottest girl in school at camp? Like that's something that teenagers would really be curious about.
Yeah.
And and also, did he really drink 11 beers?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh God. And that guy, like that actor, I hated him so much.
I know.
Like I just wanted to punch him so hard.
I even hate his name, Alex Trimboli.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I loved some of the names of the characters. 'Cause like, I feel like I feel like character names in movies are not very realistic a lot of the time.
Right.
Because people have like weird ass names.
Yeah.
They're like second, third, fourth generation immigrants, and they like don't change their names or whatever. So like Trimboli's a weird name. Like
right.
You don't see a lot of people named Trimboli or like even like Peter Maldonado. Like that's like a goofy ass name. So I thought that was just oddly realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you talk about someone, like when you make a friend at college and he talks to another friend that he went to high school with, they're talking about someone they went to high school with. Like you hear their name, it's like, that is such like a high school friend's name.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know, just like some complicated last name that like, if we saw it spelled out, we would have no idea how to pronounce it.
Sure.
But like, because those people know that person, they know how to pronounce that person's name. I don't know if I'm really doing it justice, but like like there's people we went to high school with who have really goofy names. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I don't know. That was one of those details that I appreciated. So
sure.
Yeah.
The actor who played Alex Trimboli was Calum Worthy. But yeah, and like the effort that the story goes through to really show a bunch of different sides to it. Like it didn't feel like it was dragging away from the main topic or from the main show or anything. It just felt like it was, I wouldn't say organic. It just felt like it was very much like, it didn't seem to lag behind that much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then, and there was kind of some endearing parts to it, like, Sam and Gabby. I thought that was kind of sweet.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And like that's one of those things that's, it's like, you want to hit him for how stupid he is.
Yeah.
But it's a very genuine, like, teen awkwardness thing. And like the turn of Coach Rafferty actually being kind of a decent dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that was kind of nice, but
totally.
Yeah. But Mr. Kraz, like I kind of howled with laughter when it was after the show premiered and quote unquote premiered and everyone had seen it. And then the show started delving into the kind of cultural, like, status of it. And then you see him just talking about, yeah, I kind of wish I kind of thought that it was just going to be for you guys. And I didn't really I probably shouldn't have said those things.
Yeah.
And then cut to like an episode or two later and he's in a garage and it just says, Kraz, and then it says ex-teacher. And I'm just like, that's great.
Yeah.
That is a perfectly landed joke for me.
Totally.
So funny. That, and then, just the way that they tracked the paint can through the party was like, that I thought was really clever.
Yeah.
Just because, and granted, obviously they're making it up because, it's fictional, but just like to utilize like social media and like current age technology, I guess, to kind of track something, at a party where everyone has a cell phone and stuff is really, really pretty clever. And, I thought that was done pretty well.
Yeah. And the whole splatter from the paint and everything. That was funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you notice they show footage a couple times of Coach Rafferty winning Teacher of the Year?
Mm-hmm.
And did you notice during that like when they announce that he's Teacher of the Year, Mr. Kraz like gets up and like throws his hands in the air and walks off stage?
I think I did notice that.
Like he wanted to win.
Right.
That just made me laugh because it's never explained as far as I know. It was never explained.
And it's still fitting with him because he wants to be liked by his students so badly.
Right.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, that made me laugh really hard.
Yeah, that and the one thing that I kind of thought was like, okay, this is a little stupid even for this show's taste, was the part where Peter, first of all, I'll get to that in a second, but when Peter has Sam consider him as a suspect.
Right.
And so he basically has this kind of funny, like, he's obsessed with dicks and that's why he did it. Like, I thought, like, that whole thing, I was just like, okay, come on, American Vandal, you're a little bit better than this.
I don't know. I thought that was pretty great.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a little too stupid.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm pretty stupid.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to say anything. It's like week before your wedding, but that's fine.
Yeah. 10 days booze counting.
Yeah. Anyway, I just remember Greg saying like, "There's still time."
Yeah, he did.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, and that, and then I really couldn't stand the character of Peter Maldonado because he was like, not the actor did a fine job. Just that character, I was just like he was taking it so seriously, and I could feel the I could feel the tension of the other characters around him.
Yeah.
And like that made me a little uncomfortable and made me just want to just like tell him like, dude, chill out.
Yeah.
Like calm down. But I thought that was effective though.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
So who do you think drew the dicks?
Well, the show does kind of leave it somewhat ambiguous.
Yes.
But I think without question it was definitely Krista Carlisle.
Yeah, totally. It was totally that bitch.
Yeah, Jesus. She reminded me so much of someone.
Really?
And I can't put my finger on it. Maybe a little. She reminded me just faintly of Brie Larson a little bit.
Okay, I can see that a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, I liked how that was kind of revealed. I thought it was a little easy for them to reveal it as like, oh, she didn't have her CPR certification and everything. But I liked the way that it all came together, and the fact that she waited until after graduation to do the interview was like that was a nice touch.
Yeah, totally.
I thought that was cool.
Totes.
Yeah, and I mean, did you have any like theories up until the end?
I kind of thought that it might have been one of the Wayback Boys who did it. I don't know why, but I just kind of thought it was. And I knew that Dylan's girlfriend Mackenzie was going to play a bigger part later on. I was like, she's got to be involved more in some way.
Right.
But I didn't have like, oh, it's definitely this person or whatever. Yeah.
Just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah. I'm usually not very good at picking that stuff out.
And I was kind of the same way. Yeah. I did think that the kind of reveal that Mackenzie was cheating on him was like, I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah. And that's kind of heartbreaking. I mean,
a little bit.
Dylan's the character is an idiot.
Yeah.
But he's not like a bad guy. And
right.
Like, he's kind of like a sweet kid, like,
yeah.
When it comes to their relationship, he's kind of like a sweet kid. And so like, that was messed up,
Oh yeah.
I didn't like that. I felt bad for the guy.
Me too. That, and also when they're at the party and they watch American Vandal and they just see like the beginning of it.
Yeah.
That made me feel so bad for him.
I know. Me too.
That was really well done.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but yeah, he is a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And I like the statement that it made about crime and the criminal justice system at the end, that he went back and drew the dicks again.
Yes.
Or drew the dicks for the first time. Very much shades of the night of.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Although even more tragic.
Yes. Yeah. So many dicks.
So many dicks. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a short review, but I mean,
how much detail can you get into? Really?
I know.
Like
well, what did you think of the ball hairs? I mean,
the ball hairs. Yeah. I mean, it's definitive evidence.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Jesus Christ. So since this is kind of a shorter review, I think probably, we actually have an extended potpourri section that we'll roll out here in a bit, but, kind of our final thoughts on American Vandal. Do you want to see a second season? Do you think that they could achieve a second season?
I really don't want to see it. No, because I don't want to see it because I don't think they could pull it off. I think it'd be taking it too far. Like this joke only has so many legs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It only has so much momentum before it starts getting too stupid.
Right.
And unsustainable. So, no, I don't want to see more. I think if they did more fake true crime stuff, like a different case, if you will, or something, like that would be funny, like American Horror Story style.
Right.
That could be funny. I'd definitely watch a second season if they did a different case or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know how they would do it, but
like not at the same school or anything, just like a completely But again, it had to be, with the title, it had to be another vandalism case, which would be kind of stupid.
Mm.
But,
and also it just kind of seems like, I don't know, kind of seems like they blew their wad.
Yeah.
Because you can't get more stupid than spray painting genitalia on cars. Like, I don't know how they could, like they set the bar too high with the dicks.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they can, you know, jump over that.
Yeah. But who knows?
Yeah. But they did do a very good job with the first season.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of talented people involved, so hopefully they get some more recognition and stuff outside of the internets.
Totes my goats.
Yep. So we are going to go into an extended potpourri that was previously recorded like a few weeks ago. But before we do that, we actually do have a real-time potpourri for us. But first, this weekend, guys, is Shocktober in Irvington, Friday, October 6th. We did change the venue. All the details are on the event page. You can find the links in the show notes. But yeah, we changed the venue to this great little space in Irvington called called Playground Productions Studio. It's a really great, like, little venue. And also if you have recording needs or any type of rehearsal space needs or anything, it's a very great place to do that. Like, the guy that runs it, Adam, he's super friendly guy, and he has a lot of space to work with and record, recording equipment and stuff like that. Very professional. Really excited to have it there. Again, Shocktober in Irvington is a one-night event screening of short horror films from local filmmakers. We've got films from Fair Creek Films, Innovative Illusions, JPLX Elsewhere World, and we're also going to be closing out the night with a special presentation of a film from Witching Season Films, which they're not local to here, but they are very I'm a big fan of theirs, and I run the event, so I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be raffling off prizes and gift cards to Irvington businesses. Check it out, shocktoberinirvington.com. See you there. Do you want to go into potpourri?
Totally.
All right, so for this quick lightning round potpourri, we're each going to do one thing. Potpourri is a section of the podcast where we talk about whatever we want, anything that we've watched, anything we're looking forward to, whatever it is. So, Tiny, what do you want to bring up for potpourri?
I wanted to bring up the movie The Neon Demon. It's the latest from Nicholas Winding Refn, who I am a big fan of. I think he's a really incredible filmmaker. The movie Driver was really good.
Right.
Had a great tone and everything. So
Drive or Driver?
Drive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Drive.
He also did Place Beyond the Pines.
Place Beyond the Pines, yes. Yeah.
Still haven't seen.
Oh, it's good.
I know, I've heard.
Yeah. Based on those two movies, was excited for this. I wish that would have panned out, because this was a totally dog shit movie.
Really?
Really missed the mark on this movie.
Oh, that sucks.
To start off with, it is a beautifully shot movie. Gorgeous movie. The colors and the tones and just like even the women in it. It's about models, so of course beautiful people. Just a gorgeous movie. It looked incredible, and I loved the camera work. Awesome, just awesome stuff. But it moved at a snail's pace.
Jeez. So
damn boring. And just did not give a shit about any of the characters. The premise of the movie is they're like this girl moves to Los Angeles to break into the modeling industry and become a model and get famous. And so, that's a very exploitative and kind of dark, industry, because it's a very shallow industry and all that stuff. And so, she kind of gets wrapped up into it, and like she's this new hot young model, and so she makes other models jealous and like kind of starts stealing kind of their thunder, and like I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, that's the conflict of the movie.
Okay.
And it just gets so over the top and ridiculous, and it's like it almost has this like he goes for like almost this supernatural angle at one point or towards the end. And it's like, if you would have just played it straight, like, again, I'm trying to do this without spoiling it, but if you would have just played the ending straight, I think it would have been more chilling than what he was actually going for. I'll put it that way. It ended up just being really stupid. and really boring, and just like I'll give credit to the actors. I think they did a pretty good job. Elle Fanning was the lead, and she's incredible. Super 8. If you've never seen Super 8, the movie's okay. The performances are phenomenal in that movie. The kids are hysterical. Elle Fanning is like just rips her chest open and lets her heart hang out. Like, she's awesome in that movie for being like 12 years old. She's a great actress. So like, I was excited that she was in a Nicholas Winding Refn movie. She did fine. And then, there's two models who are actual models, I believe. Abby Lee and Bella Heathcote. I think they're actual models. I don't know. But they acted in the movie, and they did a pretty good job. I mean, I was really surprised. I was like, wow,
nice.
I wasn't expecting that at all. So I will give credit to the actors for making something out of what they had. Because man, it was just so freaking boring. And just so weird, and like, I don't know. The biggest problem was the pacing. It just felt like they went from one talking scene to another, and it was like everyone was so like drab and like monotone. It was like, oh, how was your shoot? It was good, but this happened.
Jeez.
And it was an amalgam of scenes like that, interspersed with some physical stuff that was kind of chilling and kind of captured my interest, but that was few and far between. It was just, man, it was such a fail. I'm so bummed, because I think he's one of my favorite up and coming directors, and he's making a name for himself. But man, this was a piece of shit movie.
That's a bummer.
I almost want someone else to see it. I want to talk to someone else about it.
Sure.
Just because, like, it's free on Amazon Prime.
Okay, right. So I've seen it.
That's
on
how
there.
I watched it. I also, full disclosure, I watched it like 6:00 in the morning on a Saturday. It was the day of my bachelor party.
Yeah.
Because I woke up and just couldn't get back to sleep.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just going to turn on a movie. And
nice.
Yeah. So I wanted to turn on something that would hold my interest, because I knew I was sleepy.
Right.
And it didn't really hold my interest that well, but man.
I'm surprised it didn't put you back to sleep from the sound of it.
I know.
Yeah.
It should have, but
wow.
I wanted to see what was going to happen, because like,
sure, there's
this tone throughout it of like impending doom and something like big is going to happen.
Jeez.
And like, that's what kind of kept me looped in, but man, it wasn't good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because just today on Facebook, Brandon Peters, who I don't know if you know him, he's from the Cult Cinema Cavalcade podcast.
I don't think I know him really.
I think probably met him at PopCon, but
okay.
Anyway, he writes for a website called whysoblue.com, which is just Blu-ray releases and reviews and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he posted the announcement, the Blu-ray announcement for the movie Leap, the animated movie Leap from some place. Anyway, he posted it with, like, the post on Facebook was, if you loved the Neon Demon, you're going to love Elle Fanning's voice in Leap. I thought that's really funny, because I know enough about the Neon Demon to know that it's nothing like that type of movie.
Yeah.
But that's really a bummer to hear that. Maybe eventually I'll check it out and we'll talk about it. Yeah. To kind of round out this segment of Potpourri before we go to the extended Potpourri, I watched Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later, some time ago.
Cool.
And yes, so if you're not familiar with Wet Hot American Summer, it is, I believe the original movie was in 2000 or 2001. And so the movie's from 2001. Wet Hot American Summer is from 2001. It's set on the last day of camp in the summer of 1981. And then, so this came out in 2001. Then in 2015, I think, they released an update or a limited series on Netflix called Wet Hot American Summer First Day of Camp, which essentially has the actors who were already too old to be playing teenagers, now 10, 15 years later, going back and playing the characters on the first day of camp. Of that same summer in 1981. It's ridiculous, but it works so well. It's like that perfect, like, silly David Wayne humor that I don't think a lot of people will get.
Right.
But then after the success of First Day of Camp, they came back for 10 years later, which is them coming back in 1991 as a reunion 10 years later. And it's hysterical. Like, it's not as good as First Day of Camp, but it is very funny in its own right. Kind of one of the big things about it is that one of the actors in the show and movie is Bradley Cooper.
Uh-huh.
And so for the movie, for 10 years later, and they don't reference this like at all, except for I think plastic surgery, but they just recast him as Adam Scott. and probably that subplot with him and Michael Ian Black, like that is the one like running gag throughout the entire season or in the entire like limited series that is just so pitch perfect funny. Or I don't know about pitch perfect funny, but like the payoff to it is like, I'm still chuckling about it. It's hilarious to me.
Nice.
And there's a lot of stuff that's not going to make any sense if I talk about it, but it's a really fun show that is really funny and silly and really stupid. And like, I love when they break the fourth wall or they poke fun at themselves. Like, I'll give away one little part of it. There's a cameo from, oh crap, what is his name? Frasier. David Hyde Pierce.
There you
go. He has a cameo where, it's like it's using like a webcam or something, and he's chatting with one of the characters, and then while getting the information and everything at the end of it, he stands up, takes his mic off, and he's like, all right, well, this was fun. Yeah. Let me know how the rest of the shoot goes. And then he turns around and picks up an Emmy and walks out the door. He's like, let me know if you need anything else. It's like, it's hysterical. Like,
that is great.
Like those kind of gags, like it happens a few here and there throughout the season, but it's like, it's really, really funny and so stupid. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's, Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later. It's on Netflix and it's a lot of fun and silly.
Nice. I've seen the original movie. I haven't watched the two new things yet.
Nice. Did you like the original movie?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What I recommend, your homework.
Okay.
Not that you have anything going on in the next 10 days.
Yeah, nothing at all.
Is to rewatch the movie and then watch First Day of Camp and then watch 10 years later.
Okay.
You definitely rewatch the movie again.
Yeah, I need to.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that will do it for this segment of the podcast. We're going to kick it over to our extended potpourri that we did weeks ago. So you'll hear us talk about, some documentaries and Dunkirk and some other stuff. All right. And here we go.
This Halloween season, come to Nightmare on Edgewood, Indy's most intense haunted attraction, experiencing #1 must-see haunt in Indiana for 2017 as voted by nationwide Scare Factor Haunt Reviews. Edgewood has tons of new features for 2017, including the expanded Big Top attraction Carnival, the Haunted Movie House Midnight Double Feature, and the resurrection of the Dark Maze Insanity. You can also escape the nightmare in their 2 escape rooms while you're there. Nightmare on Edgewood is open every Friday and Saturday night beginning September 29th, and the season runs through November 4th. For more information and to buy tickets, visit nightmareonedgewood.com. And follow Nightmare on Edgewood on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for weekly deals. Nightmare on Edgewood is conveniently located 1 mile south of 465, just east of US 31 on the Edgewood Baseball Diamonds. Nightmare on Edgewood. Sweet dreams are not made of this.
Do you want to get us kicked off with extended potpourri?
I would be ecstatic to get us kicked off.
Nice.
Ecstatic. It's been a minute since we've done some extended potpourri, hasn't it?
It has, and it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because the last time we did extended potpourri, I never released the episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have it. I think I still have it somewhere in my computer. I don't think I ever released it because I think something else came up that we recorded, and then I just banked that one. I might save it and post it.
It could be a bonus or something.
Yeah, it could be maybe something for the week of your wedding.
Okay, yeah.
Do that.
That'll work, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it's good. It's good to clear the database from time to time, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if that's proper terminology. Anyways.
Sure.
My first entry for Extended Potpourri is the documentary, Netflix original documentary, Icarus, which came out this year, a matter of months ago. The documentary is essentially about doping in sports doping.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a really it's a very interesting documentary because it starts out with the filmmaker having a certain direction he wants to take the documentary, and then it kind of turns into a complete 180, and they have to go a completely different way with it.
Interesting.
So Brian Fogel is the director and producer of it. He's also one of the main characters in this documentary. He's an amateur cyclist, and he enjoys cycling. He's very, very good at it, but he's not like a professional at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he competes in the most grueling amateur cycling race every year. I think it's in France, and I can't remember if he said this or not, but it might actually be more difficult than the Tour de France.
Really?
Like it's a really challenging thing, but it's amateur. There's no professional riders in it, and it's basically for bragging rights, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so he finishes in out of 150 racers, he finishes in the 20s somewhere, something like that. And so there's just this core group of guys that he can just never beat.
Mm-hmm.
And so he essentially goes to one of the foremost doping experts in the world and is like, hey, I'm going to start doping and just see if it actually does anything, and what's the big deal with it? Does it have an adverse effect on my health? Does it actually give me that much of an edge?
Wow.
Are all these guys that I'm losing to every year just doping their minds out, and that's why I'll never beat them? Yeah. He's basically just I don't care what the legal ramifications are or anything. He's just I'm just going to start doping and see what happens.
It's like Supersize Me for doping.
Yeah.
In sports.
It
Holy
is.
shit, that sounds interesting.
It's illegal, and
right.
and it's it's crazy.
Wow.
And I was like, man, that is just an amazing idea for a documentary.
Yeah,
because you're right. Someone's done it before with Supersize Me, but it's you're taking legal risks by doing
right.
It's I'm just going to go ahead and just start selling marijuana just to see what it's like to sell marijuana.
Jeez,
it's crazy. And so he meets this Russian scientist, Gregory Rodchenkov, and he is the head of the doping agency in Russia.
Okay.
He's the head of anti-doping, so he's supposed to be the guy that keeps Russian athletes from doping.
Huh.
And so he goes to this guy, and this guy basically walks him through the process. Okay, here's how you dope. This is where you get the drugs from. This is how you beat the tests. This is how you game the system. Yeah, he's like, you need to start peeing in cups right now, and we're going to start putting them in your freezer. And
wow.
Yeah, and he just walks him through the process, and partway through the movie, it turns out that this scientist gets caught up in a worldwide investigation.
Wow.
And basically it comes out that in Russia, the state government, all the way to the top, aka Vladimir Putin, has just been sanctioning doping for Russian athletes for the last 30 to 40 years.
Wow.
And they basically just designed a system to beat testing, and pretty much every major Russian athlete from the Olympics or from any kind of international competition, the World Cup, anything you can think of, a disturbing majority of them are just flat out doping. Jesus. Yeah, and they're getting away with it because of this guy basically gaming the system. And he ends up and this was right, I don't know if you remember this, but it was right before the Rio Olympics last year. It came out about this, and this guy that's in the documentary was their lead witness, because like I said, he's the head of anti-doping in Russia. And so he it goes from there, and it turns into this really wild investigation, and there's a lot of conspiracy around it, because for whatever reason the Russian athletes were allowed to compete in Rio, which was very controversial, because basically there was evidence that all of them were doping. Jeez. So it's just, what's so fascinating to me about it is that they captured all of this event on camera. So it's not like they came in after it happened and then started interviewing people. This story broke while they were trying to film a whole different movie. Jeez.
Jeez.
And they had to take a whole different direction with this documentary. It was really fascinating in that regard.
I kind of love it when that happens in a documentary, because
absolutely,
that's like, because you get such a raw, like it, you know that none of it is like played up to be dramatic or anything. It's like, this is them like the filmmakers improvising their story essentially, or improvising how they react to the story.
Right.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. What's it called again?
It's called Icarus.
Icarus. Okay.
Yeah. It's really cool. And this is essentially the biggest conspiracy in the history of world sports. I mean,
Jesus.
It's 30 or 40 years of state sponsored illegal activities.
Wow.
In regards to sports. I mean, it maybe doesn't seem like a big deal, but Vladimir Putin was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, dope all. I want all our, like they had the Winter Olympics in Sochi, a few years ago,
yeah.
2012 maybe, or 14.
Sure.
And it was a big deal to them. And basically Vladimir Putin went to this guy and was like, look, we need to make a statement. So you need to find a way to cheat the anti-doping and get all our athletes to win a bunch of gold medals.
My God.
Yeah, and the Russians did win the most gold medals for that Winter Olympics. So,
wow.
I mean, it's just it's a head of state willingly breaking the law, and
wow.
I mean, it's just, and they just stumbled into this story. It's really fascinating. I enjoyed it a lot.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy, and that's a Netflix like original documentary.
Yeah, it premiered at Sundance, but then Netflix bought it. So
nice. Yeah, I know at Sundance Netflix bought a ton of movies. At least the last couple Sundances, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, that's awesome. That sounds really interesting.
It is.
Yeah. So that's Icarus. It is on Netflix, and it's funny. We mentioned that we recorded an extended potpourri. I'm pretty sure that the two movies that I have on my list here are things that I talked about in that episode, but that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to get us kicked off by talking about a trailer that I just saw for the first time today. It's the trailer for the movie Downsizing from Alexander Payne, who he is a filmmaker that I am quite enamored with. Or at least I really enjoyed Nebraska. I think that was like one of my top movies of the year. It came out. Yeah,
I remember that.
2013, and yeah, that was wow. And yeah, that was an incredible movie to me. And so this is his next movie, is called Downsizing. When I had heard about it, I had just seen that it was a movie called Downsizing with Matt Damon. Wow, it only has a 5.8 on IMDb.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, it's about a movie about, a drama about a guy who is in a company that downsizes and he has to look for a new job or something like that. But no, I watched the trailer and it's not that at all. It was really interesting. The trailer, the plot description is a social satire in which a guy realizes he would have a better life if he were to shrink himself. So judging from the trailer, it's just about a whole world where, in order to combat the overpopulation of the earth, people just shrink themselves and essentially live as miniature people. And it looks like it's going to be really fascinating. Obviously, it's just a trailer, so I can't really go off of what it is. Because I watched it this morning, and then I was getting ready for work, and then I was sitting there thinking like I was playing it over in my head, thinking like, wow, I wonder what the conflict of the movie's going to be. Because the trailer is just like, hey, yeah, let's shrink ourselves, honey. All right, we're shrunk. There we go. And then like I kept thinking I was thinking of the practical elements of it, like how you can really what are the long-term effects of this type of story or this type of world. And then all I thought was like, what would they do with natural disasters? Like hurricanes and like thunderstorms and stuff. Cause everything would be amplified and so much more terrifying.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I kind of hope that the movie dives into that, but who knows? We'll see December 22nd. It did just play at the Toronto International Film Festival, but we're in Indianapolis, so we didn't get to see that.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my first potpourri is just Downsizing. It's something that is now on my radar, and I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Yeah, I thought the trailer was fun. And it's, Matt Damon. So
I was also saying that to myself when I was getting ready for work.
Or like in a little squeaky voice, Matt Damon, because he's so small now.
Right? Oh, that's ridiculous. How did you feel about Nebraska? I feel like you didn't like it as much as I did.
I didn't like it quite as much as you. Okay. I think it would have been it was an honorable mention, I think, for me for that year. I think I saw it after we did our episode.
I think so too.
Year in review episode. But I think it would have been an honorable mention for me.
Nice.
It was good, yeah.
I need to see it again.
The word that comes to mind, like if I had, like you had to describe the movie in one word, the word stark comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's just very boom. It's like it's on its face. There's no, it's not dressed up at all.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I mean that in a complimentary way. It's just, it was it didn't feel like a movie. You know what I mean?
Kind of like a slice of life kind of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
With a little bit of like family drama. Yep. Cool. So what's your next potpourri?
My next entry is a mini-series or limited series, whatever they call them now. It premiered on Investigation Discovery Channel.
Okay.
Which is not a sentence I thought I'd ever say.
Right.
But it's called Manhunt, Unabomber. And I don't know if this is going to be like a recurring series where they have like the Manhunt, because it's Manhunt, Unabomber.
Okay.
And so I don't know if there's going to be another Manhunt where they're, tracking someone else. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But this one, it wasn't on my radar at all. I think, me and Paige saw the promotions for it. I don't even know what we were watching, but because we don't watch anything on Investigation Discovery,
right?
It may have been something on the History Channel or something, or HGTV, something like that, which is owned by the same company, I think. Okay. And so they were showing promos for it, and I was just like, yeah, it just really wasn't on my radar. It seemed just kind of meh.
Is it a dramatization? Okay.
Scripted dramatization.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It stars Sam Worthington and Paul Bettany. Let's see who else is in it. Mark Duplass makes an appearance. Jane Lynch plays Janet Reno.
Oh wow!
Yeah, which is really good casting. But essentially, the story is about it's an in-depth look at how an FBI profiler helped track down the Unabomber.
Oh wow!
Sam Worthington plays the FBI profiler.
Okay.
And it just wasn't on my radar at all because it just felt a little too just Investigation Discovery-ish. Like it just felt like it was First 48 or something like that. Like cold case files and just it just didn't seem. It just seemed so blasé to me.
Sure.
I was incredibly wrong about that.
Really?
This show is phenomenal.
Nice.
I hope it wins a ton of Emmys and shit. Like it was fantastic. And if you have a cable subscription or whatever, you can download the Investigation Discovery app and watch it that way.
Nice.
Sign in. That's pretty common now on a lot of channels. So just use your login for your provider, and you can watch it through the app, which we had to do that a couple times because the recording got messed up on our DVR. So I highly recommend going and watching it. It's 8 episodes. It's 8 hours, maybe 8.5, close to 9. Paul Bettany plays Ted Kaczynski, who's the Unabomber. Sam Worthington is the FBI profiler. And it's the case was just absolutely just fascinating. How it played out, how they caught the guy, how the trial went. I mean, there was literally the prosecution of Ted Kaczynski at the time was completely unprecedented.
Really?
There was no legal precedent whatsoever for the way that they caught him.
Nice.
Which is really interesting.
And it goes through the whole trial and everything too?
Yes, it does.
That's really cool.
It goes through catching him and it's everything, yeah.
Nice.
Because the Unabomber was active for like 15 years, 20 years, and FBI was hunting him for 15 or 20 years. So, I mean, it was a super long, drawn-out case, and it just took forever to catch him. And this was just really amazing. I was shocked at the dedication to the dedication of the showrunners for this show to like make these rounded characters and like play out through the whole explore every facet of the story. And there's an entire episode that is just character building for Ted Kaczynski.
Wow.
It is an entire episode where they go into his college years, a little bit of his childhood, and it's composed in the form of him typing out a letter to his estranged brother.
Oh, that's interesting.
That he hasn't talked to. And so he's almost like narrating over it through the letter. It's so well done. And he's contemplating stopping sending bombs and trying to like reintegrate himself into society.
Wow.
It was that whole episode was just gold. I was blown away. Sam Worthington, to speak about the cast a little bit, Sam Worthington is just kind of Sam Worthington. I've never been especially impressed by him.
Sure.
I've never seen him give a performance that I was especially impressed with.
Yeah.
But he's fine. He's fine. He does a decent job here. There's nothing that really stands out, other than the fact that I think he just struggles with an American accent.
Yeah.
I can really hear it a lot. But it didn't bother me that much, really. I think the standout was Paul Bettany playing Ted Kaczynski. He was really into the character. I think he lost some weight for the role because he was he seemed fairly emaciated.
Sure.
Throughout some of it, made him look older than he is. And he really just has that crazy, like borderline certifiably crazy demeanor about him, which I don't know if that's how Ted Kaczynski really was. I really didn't know much about him. But he just really, really perfected the role and dove into him incredibly well. Yeah, like I said, I highly recommend it. I hope it wins a bunch of awards. It's got to be the best thing Investigation Discovery's ever produced. I can't imagine what else.
Well, Tiny, they did have the show The Shift, which was based in Indianapolis.
Oh, that's right.
It had IMPD homicide detectives.
Yeah,
followed them.
Very true.
Which, that
was okay. I watched a lot of it.
I mean, it was it was just okay, but because local. Hey,
yeah. Kevin Spacey was a producer on it.
I was just going to ask who's kind of involved.
Yeah, and then the only director was Greg Yaitanes. I'm not familiar with him at all.
The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I might be thinking of someone else. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it was just. God, it was so good. And like, I was not interested in it at all.
Yeah.
But Paige was like, I don't know. I think you'd like that. I was like, it's Investigation Discovery.
Right.
Totally being a snob about it. Like,
sure.
Whatever. With your ID, whatever. And she was like, I think we should record it. I was like, all right, fine. We'll record it and see if it's any good. And 20 minutes into the first episode, I was like, damn it.
That's awesome.
Damn it. She was right. And just like, it premiered, it aired on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
And like I have to get up really early for work sometimes, and but we would always watch it Wednesdays.
That's awesome.
Like if we had to wait for Thursday, she was like, "No, I want to watch it tonight." And like I was the same way, and like I would like she'd be working late, and I'd be like, "Come home, let's have dinner so we can watch the Unabomber."
That's awesome.
We were super into it.
Did you? Okay, so before going into it, did you know much about the case, or did you know how much? Did you
nothing.
Know? Okay,
I knew nothing about the Unabomber case. It just not. It was a little bit before our time. We were kids when the trial happened, kind of.
Honestly, like it's funny because you say Unabomber, and like literally the only thing I can think of is like my only frame of reference to the Unabomber is that he was a guy that was hiding in the woods. Yeah. And that's pretty much like I don't even know the context of the bombings at all. So I'm very intrigued by this.
Yeah, he basically Ted Kaczynski was a passionate idealist.
Okay.
He lived in pretty much isolation in a cabin that he built himself in Montana for 25 years.
Okay.
And that's where he built all his bombs, and he would drive or take a train for 4 hours to San Francisco to send all his packages, all of his bombs.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's one reason why it was so hard to find him. But yeah, he was just a fascinating person and a a literal genius, and just obviously disturbed, but
right.
Just an incredibly fascinating person. A monster. I'm not saying he's
right. No. He's not like your new hero, or
right.
anything.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you will be fascinated watching this, and you should watch it. It's really good.
That sounds like I'm sold.
Yeah.
I don't have like a cable subscription for it or whatever, but I'll just borrow my mom's login ID and I'll get that. Yeah.
You can borrow mine.
Okay, nice. Yay.
Yeah. I think actually, no, you don't have cable, do you?
No, I don't have that. Like, I don't have a cable package. I just have local channels.
See, I don't think you could use yours.
No, it wouldn't. I've tried it before. Like
have you? Okay.
Yeah, I use my mom's for FX now to watch The Simpsons.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And before we go to my next one, so the show's called Manhunt: Unabomber.
Yes.
What other cases would you like to see them do if they did other seasons?
Maybe the BTK killer, bind, torture, killer.
Oh, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. I don't know a lot about his case either.
Right.
But I think there was some legal precedent in that one as well.
Okay.
But I don't really recall. What else would be a good one? Maybe the thing is, it has to be a good, it's obviously about manhunt. It's about catching the person. It's not about how interesting the person is that was caught. Mm-hmm. That just happened to be a good symptom of this case in particular.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not really sure about what manhunts in particular were noteworthy.
Right.
I know the catching Pablo Escobar was very I think there were some legal precedents there. I think there was some really clever, interesting work by the CIA and FBI to catch Escobar.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to watch Narcos.
Yeah.
It started its third season on Netflix, and like I have friends who've told me to watch Narcos like immediately.
Yeah.
But I need to watch that, and then one of our listeners, Monica, has told me that I need to watch Fargo season 2.
Yeah, I need to watch Fargo.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I haven't watched it yet, and it's been months. So if you're listening, sorry, Monica, I'll get to it.
I've watched 4 or 5 episodes of Narcos. It is very good.
Nice.
The guy who plays Pablo Escobar is incredible.
Nice.
So,
and isn't Pedro Pascal in that?
He is. Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
He's also everyone's good in it. But,
nice.
That is a good show, and Paige and I are trying to. It's kind of that old thing that I've mentioned before where time feels like, because it's they're hour long episodes.
Yeah.
So it's trying to trying to get through them.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Paige doesn't have the patience for it as much. Mm-hmm. Neither do I.
The Paige sense.
She doesn't have Paige sense.
Don't tell her I said that. I still want to be in the wedding.
So yeah, please watch Manhunt: Unabomber. Nice. It is. I'm worried that people didn't watch it. Mm-hmm. Which is an absolute shame, because also, to Investigation Discovery's credit, they clearly put a bunch of money into this thing.
Really?
Like,
nice.
they recreated his cabin to like the most minute detail.
That's awesome.
And it was featured heavily in the show. And
very cool.
It's just really good. Huh. It's really good.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm gonna watch Fargo and then Narcos and then that. I'll figure out my own order to watch them and stuff. But that's on the list.
Cool.
So next up for me is Dunkirk. The latest from Christopher Nolan came out in July. It's been a while since one of the problems with this episode or with this extended potpourri is that we've been talking so much about that one movie that kind of cut into all of our potpourri. So if you want to hear us talk more about the Dark Tower, go to towerjunkies.com, or towerjunkiespod.com. Anyway, or buy any Stephen King book at local bookstores in Indianapolis, because my business card is in all of them. But anyway, so I saw Dunkirk, and I kind of regret not seeing it in 70 millimeter and IMAX, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. And you know what's interesting is that I've been a fan of Christopher Nolan since Memento. Like, I loved the Dark Knight trilogy. I've said my piece about my disappointment with Interstellar, but Inception is one of my like go-to Desert Island movies. Like that's a movie I never get sick of. And it's funny because throughout all of his movies, throughout all of his his entire career, not his entire career, but for the most part, his original films, people always have a reaction to it, like, oh, how do you make sense of this movie? Because it's so mind-boggling, and it's like it's not that hard. They're just at a different level of the dream. Like,
pay attention.
Yeah, just pay attention. Just do it that like. It's not that they explain, Interstellar literally explains exactly what's going, in both Interstellar and Inception, the characters are explaining everything about the movie to you. It's not that hard. Mm-hmm. But Dunkirk is, interestingly enough, the first movie of Christopher Nolan's that I came away from thinking, I kind of need to see this again to really understand what I just watched.
Really?
Yeah, it was really interesting because, I don't think I'm spoiling it because I'm just talking about the narrative technique, but it's a nonlinear story. So there's a few different, there's 3 different perspectives, and they all take place at different times. And some of them involve the same characters, I think.
Okay.
So they're at different points. So you'll see one character on the beach and then another, and then that same character on a boat or something.
Okay.
And it's it was kind of confusing. And it didn't take me until about halfway through the movie that I was like, oh, that's okay. That's what's going on. And also kind of the big thing about it was that each one, each narrative thread, I think takes place over a different span of time. One is 1 day, one's 1 hour, one's 1 week, I think.
Okay.
And, so all of it, I'm really anxious to see it again because I really want to go through and watch it and be more present mentally to make sense of it because I think that it's brilliant. I think it was a brilliant storytelling technique. I just need to watch it so I understand what the fuck I saw.
Gotcha.
But Dunkirk is it's really incredible. I really enjoyed the movie. He has it's based on a real event, obviously, the miracle of Dunkirk. And by having it set in that, it's none of the set pieces feel like spectacle, and neither should they. Uh-huh. There are just these big moments where Tom Hardy's character is a fighter pilot, and he's there are dog fights in it, and there's a lot to it, and there's not that much dialogue or characterization. It's not you don't get the scene where they're explaining oh, this character is One Direction and he does this. Mm-hmm. Cause Harry Styles is in the movie. Anyway.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
He was in One Direction.
Yeah.
I know zip about that band.
Wow. Well, that's just a sign of the times, Tiny.
It is.
'Cause that's one of his songs. Anyway.
What is?
A Sign of the Times is one of Harry Styles' songs.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was interesting because the whole movie I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, which one is One Direction? I couldn't tell who was who or anything. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, he played the character named Alex. Okay, wait, who was Alex? Cause I didn't know any of the characters' names or anything. And that wasn't to the detriment of it because I knew the storyline and everything. And there's some really intense things about the movie that goes on. I freaking loved, Mark Rylance in the movie. Mm-hmm. He was, that guy, I love him in really anything, but he plays such a great, character that basically is a civilian who's going to Dunkirk to help the evacuation and everything. And he's got a couple of kids with him, and it's he's such a noble person in the movie that it's just his performance is really, really amazing. And I just loved his performance in that.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but just the balls of it, really. The way that Nolan created it without regard to really traditional narrative structure, which to an extent it was kind of to the detriment for me because I was trying to make sense of what was going on, but the depiction of each different like set piece, I almost said vignette, but they're not really vignettes because they're like their own narrative thing and they all tie together, but they're their own. Each one has its own core to it, and it's really really incredible and really brings home just like the importance of what happened and how just triumphant it was.
Okay.
In historical context. It was a really, really great movie. I really loved it. I can't wait to buy it. And, I'm glad that I can have a new Christopher Nolan movie that I'm not shitting on constantly.
Nice.
Yeah. So you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, have you?
I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't make it a priority to go see it. I mean, my mom even liked it, which she does not like Christopher Nolan movies. They're too complicated for her, and she's not usually a big fan of them. But she saw it and she was like, "You need to see it. You'll love it." I was like, "I really do need to see it."
Yeah, this is a movie that you would love.
I know.
Yeah.
I really. It's pretty much out of theaters now, as far as I know. So
yeah,
there may be some straggler holding on somewhere, but
I think so.
Yeah, I really wish I would have seen it in the theater.
Yeah, I really wish you would have too. It still says it's in. Oh well, Tiny. It is still at Shiloh.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and Traders Point.
Holy cow! I might have to go see it.
And that place on the south side that I always go to, Southern Plaza.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go see it, I'll go see it with you if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I might try to squeeze it in.
Okay. Yeah.
Somewhere.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know if you, whatever. Just, hit me up.
Hit you, HMU.
HME. Wait, no. I'm leaving that in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Dunkirk. Yeah. And I made the smartass comment like a few years ago. I think it was a couple years ago when it was announced. I think I sent you a text message and I posted it on Instagram I posted it on Instagram at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a smartass comment saying, like, oh wow, so Christopher Nolan is making a World War II movie about the evacuation in Dunkirk. I bet there's going to be a character named Kirk, who's like representative of, like, he's a representative of Dunkirk itself, and then someone's going to be really sick of him and say like, hey, you know what, you're done, Kirk. And then, because he puts a lot of stuff that's really on the nose, that didn't land anyway. But there was no character named that way in the movie, so it wasn't anything like that.
Okay, glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut that out. Anyway, yeah. So that's Dunkirk. Tiny and I might go see it. I think. I don't know if he wants to. I don't know.
Okay, we'll see.
We can't.
If you're good.
Okay. Can I get popcorn?
You got to be really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And soda. Okay. What's your next one?
Not doing so good so far. Up next for me, it's another documentary. Sorry.
We know you.
Really not. Yeah, I was gonna say really not out of character for me.
No.
But it's called Chasing Coral. It came out this year in 2017.
Is it based on? Is it a behind the scenes documentary about the prequel to Finding Nemo? Well, the prequel to Finding Nemo and the sequel to Finding Dory, where they're finding whatever you're about to say. No, Nemo's mom, Coral.
No, it is not
okay.
that. I thought you were going to say, is it like a sequel to The Walking Dead?
Oh, I should have said that. Yeah,
Coral's missing, and they're trying to chase him down. No, it is a documentary. It closely resembles the 2012 documentary. Hang on, called Chasing Ice. 2012 documentary. Chasing Ice. About
chasing the sword that Ned Stark had at the beginning?
So basically, both documentaries are. No, both of these documentaries go hand in hand because they kind of have the same premise, but it's just with different parts of nature, if you will.
Sure.
Chasing Ice, they set up cameras around the world where there are glaciers and ice formations that are disappearing because of global warming. And they had cameras sitting there for months and months, sometimes years, documenting receding ice. Wow. And it was very well done, really, really cool. I think it was nominated for an Oscar. Might have won, and I don't know if it won an Oscar, but so it's really fantastic in that regard. It's crazy to see the impact that's having. Well, coral around the world is also dying at a disturbing rate. Wow. And the way that it represents itself is, coral is very colorful and vibrant, and it's basically like a jungle under the water. And what's happening is it's bleaching white, and all of the wildlife that lives around it is just disappearing and going elsewhere. As a place to live, and it's really, really sad and depressing. And so scientists studied it, and the only way, they were trying to figure out, how to recreate that there. So they took live active coral, and they're like, why is it doing this? Why is it bleaching? And they ran all these tests on it, and the only way that they can get it to do that is by turning up the temperature in the water. Oh. So it is a direct result of warming water, which is global warming. Like there's basically no other explanation for it.
Jesus.
So without a question, the water is getting warm. I know it's a very controversial subject, global warming, but like it's pretty definitive. Unless they're just completely full of shit in the documentary. But it's very definitive. And so they did the same thing in this. They took part of the very fascinating part of the documentary is that they had to create a camera that you can just leave underwater for months at a time.
Wow.
Which is obviously a huge challenge to figure that out. And there was some trial and error that they documented in the movie. But they actually brought in, also there are quite a few challenges with ice. The environments in which glaciers exist are incredibly harsh.
Right.
So they actually brought in some of the same camera technicians from that first documentary to construct camera rigs for this movie. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really sad. The Great Coral Reef off the coast of Australia is like, it's officially dead pretty much.
Jesus.
Which it was literally one of the wonders of the world. It's like I think it's like 1,000-mile stretch of this coral, this living, breathing jungle, and it's like 70 or 80% dead.
Wow.
It's just really depressing, really sad. And, the environmental scientists tell us that if the oceans die, the whole world dies because it's such an integral part of the global ecosystem. And this is kind of a symptom of a dying ocean, which is, it's scary and it's kind of a bad thing. Yeah. Obviously it's not a feel good movie, but, I think it was really cool to see how they captured this footage. I think that was my favorite part of it. These rigs that they designed to keep cameras underwater for months at a time was really interesting. And in one place, one part of the world where they were filming this, their camera rig kept failing and just failing and failing and failing. And so they were like, screw it. We're just going to basically put up these couple guys in a hotel and they're going to dive every single day and take pictures at the same places.
Wow.
And so they were there for like 60 days, 90 days. And they were also documenting themselves taking these pictures. And it was one of them was, the most heart-wrenching part of the documentary was this guy who, every single day he would get on a boat for 8, 10, 12 hours and just dive and take pictures of death. After, if you think about it, it's like filming something that's dying. And he basically talked about how it had like an emotional impact on him because it's just, he's just surrounded by negativity for 8 or 10 hours every single day. And it was like, I felt bad for the guy. And I was like, man, I bet that is super hard. I mean, you're talking about it's like watching a tree rotting, that's kind of how you think about it. But I guess if that's all you did, yeah, that would probably have a negative impact on your psyche and how you operate as a person. So, I mean, just seeing that impact was pretty fascinating and pretty cool. So, it's a good documentary. It's also on Netflix.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Did you like it more than Chasing Ice, or?
I actually preferred Chasing Ice. Okay. I think Chasing Ice has a really big smoking gun at the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
They're one of the poles, I think. And they actually, it's like there's like no other footage like it in the world. They filmed a chunk of ice the size of Manhattan Island breaking off from a glacier. And like it takes like 10. It's so big it takes like 10 minutes for it to break off and fall into the ocean.
Wow!
It sounds like a thunderstorm because it was just incredible to see it.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and I think the documentation is a little more grandiose. The footage they got for the coral was very compartmentalized.
Okay,
and so you're only seeing like 20, 30 square yards of coral.
Sure.
Degrading over time. But with Chasing Ice, you're looking at a giant glacier that's like the size of a town.
Wow.
And you're watching it recede and all that stuff. So I actually prefer Chasing Ice just a little bit more. But they're both very good. I think they both may still be. I know Chasing Coral's on Netflix. I don't know if Chasing Ice is still on there or not.
But the bottom line is we're all going to die, and the planet's going to die too.
I know it's a very controversial subject, and it's very politicized. But and I really try to examine both sides of an argument, but I just don't know. I just can't bring myself to deny climate change because there's just so much evidence. Like there cannot be this many people lying to you. I can't see how. I can't see how it can be denied anymore, but
Well, I mean, you got to think about it, Tiny. We have so many people lying to us about the
fake news.
Yeah, I was going to go with the world not being flat, but
yeah,
no
kidding.
Jesus, yeah. In my head, like when you're saying like I know it's highly politicized and everything, I'm like I just want to just be like, yeah, science is very controversial.
Yeah, it is.
Like actual science with data and everything.
97% of scientists.
Jesus. Anyway, so that's our look at the death of humanity. And so bringing up somewhat on that same subject, my next potpourri is War for the Planet of the Apes. Which is the concluding chapter of the latest trilogy for Planet of the Apes franchise, this remake, reboot, whatever. So it basically follows Caesar as he and his apes are at war with humans. There is a villain character in Woody Harrelson, who plays, and it's been a while since I've seen this. Woody Harrelson plays the Colonel, so he doesn't actually have a name. And it's I think at the end of the day, I loved Dawn of the Planet of the Apes more. Like I enjoyed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes a lot more than War for the Planet of the Apes, but I think that in terms of a concluding chapter of a storyline and of a trilogy, this was very, very good.
Nice.
It was a very good conclusion to the story of Caesar and the apes, and it was really an emotional journey. Again, I think Dawn was just a lot better for me because it kind of was a little surprising how great that was. But this was a worthy, concluding chapter. It definitely had, going forward, the performances, the digitized performances.
Motion capture?
Yeah, the motion capture. Okay. I kept wanting to say animatronic. Why? No, the motion capture performances were incredible. Like with each one of these movies, you can see on screen just how much they're pushing the envelope of technology.
Right.
And it looks glorious in this movie. In this, it is a war for the Planet of the Apes. Like they are at war with humans. And the opening sequence is fascinating because it's like a jungle warfare battle. And it was really fascinating to me. And the way that they incorporate some of the apes into the humans side of it is really interesting and really, there's a lot of like drama at the heart of this movie, and that really came through really well. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a brief review, but I don't really have much else to say, but it's definitely worth checking out. I'm definitely going to be buying it. And it's a really good concluding chapter. And it's fascinating because, I mean, you're rooting for the apes to, survive and everything. It's like, it's the death of humanity too, but,
right.
And the way it pays homage to the original franchise, it does that in a lot of really good ways, and it plays with, it really dives into Caesar, like kind of the heart of the movie is Caesar's battle within himself to not become like Koba and not become ruthless and actually preserve his humanity, with an asterisk. It's like, I mean, the lengths that he goes through and the story at the center of it is really pretty heart-wrenching and really, really fascinating and really well done.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Nice.
Yep. Do you want to go next?
Yeah, my last entry will be kind of brief for this extended potpourri. Gore Verbinski's A Cure for Wellness, which came out in 2016. I thought the trailers looked really cool for this, and Gore Verbinski's been doing the whole Pirates of the Caribbean thing for so long, and I kind of forgot about him as a director and everything, and so I was like, I'm really interested in this, and I actually ended up liking the movie quite a bit.
Nice.
I think it's probably, I mean, it's got like a 6.4 on IMDb, which isn't great, but it's not terrible either. I'm not sure how well received it was, but I thought it was just really creepy.
Really?
And just, it's creepy and it's scary. It's disturbing. It's really gross at a lot of places. But at the same time, it's just a really beautiful movie. Nice. Just cause it's some vintage Gore Verbinski. He uses his camera really, really well. And the sets, it takes place in like this very idyllic, beautiful mountain town in like Sweden, somewhere. Was it Sweden? So yeah, Swiss Alps. Yeah. It's really, or Switzerland, not Sweden, Switzerland. I get those two confused all the time. But it's just idyllic. It looks like a painting, and it's this like it's set in this old hospital. It's just like an immaculately kind of spotless movie, which is a weird way to put it. And then it'll just have these really disgusting things, gross, odd, weird, disturbing things happen in this incredible setting. I just enjoyed that juxtaposition, if you will. Yeah, I really recommend it. It's gross, but you want to be grossed out, I guess. Cause like you're fascinated by it, or you're like, it's like, how much of this can I stand?
Sure.
It's kind of like it's almost like an endurance movie in that respect. Okay.
The trailer kind of gave me vibes of like Shutter Island.
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. At least that aesthetic anyways. But it's definitely, it's a horror movie without question. And I enjoy the performances. Dane DeHaan is just an incredible upcoming actor.
Nice.
Big fan of his. Jason Isaacs is one of my favorite actors.
Oh yeah.
He plays the villain in it. An actress named Mia Goth. I was not familiar with her at all, but apparently she's engaged to Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sure.
She's kind of the female lead. She was really good. And then there's just a ton of, a very big supporting cast of, kind of ancillary background characters who have a line here or there, but like, I just couldn't take my eyes off the movie. I was just very enamored by it, but I can understand why story-wise it kind of has an odd meandering story, and I think I can understand why it would not be that well received by a lot of people. So I can sort of understand the 6.4 rating on IMDb, but I would give it like a really solid 7.5 or 8. Like
Nice.
I just enjoyed it. I think it's a very unique idea for a movie, and just I don't know. I think I was just really in the mood for like a weird, like, how much of this movie can I take kind of movie to watch. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Nice.
But I enjoyed it. And I recommend people see it. I guarantee I could ask 10 people about it, and so many of them would say it was just too gross, or I just didn't like it. It was too weird for me. But then I still think there'd be one or two people that were like, yeah, I liked it. It was so odd in a good way.
Nice.
So that's just how I reacted to it.
Sweet.
I liked it a
Did
lot.
you rent it?
I did.
On demand?
I think I got it from Amazon.
Okay.
And streamed it from my phone. Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. That's a cure for wellness, and then I'll round us out with a quick discussion about how I'm excited about this movie. Again, it's coming out in December, I think. It's The Disaster Artist. Yes. Tiny, have you ever seen The Room?
I've still never seen it.
Oh my god, it is so great.
It's because I think I want to see it in the theater, but I think I'm just gonna have to rent it or something to watch it before this comes out. Because this trailer, I'm just like, holy shit, this looks like
it's fascinating because like I posted it in the Facebook group, which you can go to at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, and listener and guest from our id review, Matt Andraco said like, this looks like this could be a complete how did he phrase it, like a train wreck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's fascinating because if you see this trailer without the context of how just terrible and weird The Room is, it's going to be like kind of over your head and kind of weird. But like James Franco in this trailer just freaking nails Tommy Wiseau's like weirdness. And it's like, oh man, I just can't wait for this movie. The full trailer is out now. It looks like it's going to be amazing. Like it looks like it's going to be hilarious, but also kind of, I have a feeling that there's going to be some heart to it about just people with no talent making a movie.
Yeah.
And, it's, oh my God, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. Apparently Tommy Wiseau is like 100% on board with it.
I saw that headline. I didn't read the article, but yeah, I saw that, and that's awesome.
He was like a consultant for it.
Probably, yeah.
I saw like an interview where they had the Franco brothers and then the two people they're playing in the movie.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau, and they were like doing an interview, and like basically during the interview, James Franco was doing an impression of Tommy Wiseau while he was sitting right next to Tommy Wiseau.
That's so awesome.
And I was just dying laughing because he's just using his weird affectations and his odd accent and his broken English. It was so funny. I was like, man, that's ballsy as hell.
Oh yeah,
because he looks like the kind of guy that would just start choking you or something.
Right.
I'm committing myself to watching The Room and then going and seeing the movie in the theater.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna like force you to see The Room. In some way. And I've seen it in the theater twice. Okay. I went to a midnight screening a few years ago, and it's phenomenal. Like to see it in a theater, because not to give anything away, but there is like part of the set is this framed picture of a plastic spoon.
Right.
And it's like, there's no, like, it's no idea. No idea what the fuck that's supposed to be. But like people at the screenings and stuff, like they bring boxes of plastic spoons, and anytime it's on screen, they just throw it at the screen.
That's great.
And like people just like, they repeat lines, and it's like in unison, everyone saying like everything, like, it is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then the second time I saw it in theaters was for a Riff Tracks live one. It was obviously pre-taped and everything, but it was like they were riffing the movie, and it was unbelievably funny.
Nice.
Like it's such a blast. Definitely see The Room.
Okay.
And I'm so excited to see The Disaster Artist when it comes out. All right, well, that was Extended Potpourri, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Next week, Tiny's getting married.
I am.
Yes, and I don't know. Oh man, we should do like a wedding movies episode.
Missed opportunity.
I know, right? Yeah. I don't even know what I have scheduled for next week. Oh, Jesus Christ. Next week is our Shocktober in Irvington episode.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So this Friday is Shocktober in Irvington. Next week we'll have the recording from the event there. And then, we'll have more later. Also check out Anthology at anthologypod.com. Solo Side Project Podcast, where I discuss the Twilight Zone and other, science fiction anthology shows. And check out our side project podcast, Tower Junkies. We're going to have a review of Gerald's Game, Mike Flanagan's adaptation of Stephen King's, book. And we have more fun stuff to come. Find that at towerjunkiespod.com. And having said that, I think we're good.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you Friday.
Thanks.
See you. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We are a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at obsessiveviewer.com/podcast. Wait, I messed that up because I hadn't loaded up my stuff yet. Yep. I'll just take it again. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. No, that's not how I did it. Okay. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by obsessiveviewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP, Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes, and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.